Senior X30 races. We have qualifying heat D and G that is coming up next. C and F that will round out the day. Driver starting on pole position for this one. Heikki Kaltunen has a really strong position here. Sits third in the intermediate classification. He cannot start on pole for Superheat 1 or 2. That's been secured by Clement Utron and Andy Rattel now. But he can certainly benefit this by seeing if he can start on the front row for Superheat 2. Superheat 1, I should say. Let's take you through the full starting lineup. It's Heikki Kaltunen and Markus Lutzi on row number 1. Clovis Nugareid and Sam van der Heijden on row 2. Angelo Melli and Christian Biasati go from row 3 from Lewis Mackie. And he would have the likes of Matteo Giacardi alongside him, but he is missing from the grid. Marlon Bayer and Austin Gale go from row 5. They have Maxime Blanchimont and Enzo Menendez on row 6. Milan Marzak and Cahal Clark round out row 7. Noah Manton and Luca Horton round out row number 8. Luca really needs a good result in this one. We'll have Louis Esser and Morgan Knudsen for company on row 9. Louis Torts and Charlie Glum round out row 10 in the top 20. They'll have Maximano da Silva and Miguel Silva on row 11. Row 12, Luke Taylor and Nicholas Simic, I should say, on row 12. Freddie Housley and Torben Grundel on row 13. Hawk White and Thomas Van Verley go from row 14. They'll have Luca Mann and CJ Bennett rounding out the top 30. Sophia Sanfari rounds out the 30 kart grid because, of course, Matteo Giacardi is not there. Now, I'm not sure what has happened to Matteo Giacardi. But he is missing from the grid, and well, I can see something in the orders there, so I suspect it's something in the works with the stewards. That's the reason why he's missing from this one, so that is a shame, especially after such a long day. Drew, back in the commentary box. We'll let you catch your breath for the moment as you've just sprinted back up at high speed to the commentary box. Kaltunen's in a really strong position for this one for starting on the front row for Superheat 1 tomorrow, but not on pole position. It'll be on the outside of row number 1. And if I was him, I would aim for second place, maybe third for this one, because then it might be well, no, actually, I tell a lie on that one. He wants to aim for about 5th in the intermediate classifications because he wants to start on that inside row as if he best as possibly can. But again, championship points up for grabs. The higher he is, I'm sure the better he is.
It's the point of being on the inside is quite regularly a thing in this sport of being better, but I don't think it's one of the worst circuits for that because you have that immediate flick
next
back
side
into
you
turn
can come
3.
back. Yeah.
So I think Heikki Kaltunen's just going to go out and try and win this race, to
be
honest.
Fast as he can.
And we're going to have a lot of fun watching, seeing if he can do it. Are we ready to go? Yes, lights are out, racing once again in X30. Seeing a good start for Kaltunen down into the first couple of corners. Good start as well for Nugareid there as well. They've already got a bit of a clearance ahead of Markus Lutzi in third place. Good start there.
Yep, certainly so. And already a breakaway for the top 2 as they try to drive their way from this field. Down the back straight they go. Some defensive lines coming in thick and fast. Is everyone going to make it through the pinch point of turn 7, 8 and 9? Hold your breath. I think the answer to that is yes. Good to see everyone through, but look at Heikki Kaltunen here in the lead of this. No drama whatsoever. Clovis Nugareid is there in second place. A great start for him. Much better exit there out of turn 12 through 13. Might have a race on our hands here. Clovis Nugareid piling on the pressure. But all the drivers here, 5 of the top 6 drivers in this race have all deployed brand new set of tyres on the left-hand side of their kart. So again, they're all in the same situation here, but Clovis Nugareid now controls this race as he steps up into the race lead as they go on to lap 2.
And this is the thing that I've been expecting from Nugareid across the course of the weekend. He's looked thereabouts from every single first practice through Thursday. And again, I think he's one of those drivers who hasn't got a championship situation too much to worry about. I mean, yes, he can still finish well up in the top 10 in the rankings, but he's not one of those drivers thinking about, can I win it? What do I need to keep myself in the fight? He can just go out there and race. And yeah, he's been performing pretty well this weekend. Let's see what he can do now as we enter the mid-stage of this race.
Oof, that was a big lunge down the inside there for the 286. So it could have been the 295 there of Maxime Blanchimont just trying to get through and, yeah, just trying to take that inside line. Not going his way at all, but holds on to his position as Kyle Clark and Marzak switch places. That's just behind them as well. You can see there Menendez trying to get involved on the outside here, tries to sweep back as through go Silva and Glum. Also getting involved in a nice little fight there as Angelo Melli sets the fastest lap of the race, who's currently in P8.
Yeah, and Angelo needing a good result here. He's had a difficulty earlier on in the weekend. Meanwhile, Calderon having a little look to see if he can put Nugared under pressure, make him crack, have a mistake there to retake the lead. Got to be aware of Marcus Luzio, though. Marcus Luzio, who is out, is
that's Hawk White.
Yeah, in the 364, and the power says no bueno, and that is going to be the German driver out of this race.
Yeah, that is a big shame, and you can see what it means to him on that one there, because in the seniors there's no repechage. There is a consolation race. You go no further from that consolation race apart from seeing what you can do in it and then going home. But yeah, it's just basically an extra race for anyone who's still here and wants to have a go. Yeah, basically.
Calderon trying to wedge the door open there,
nice,
and Nugared did very well to defend that one around the outside.
Yeah, he certainly did, didn't he? I mean, these overtakes that we're seeing here at this stage of the weekend, I don't want to say it's desperation kicking in right now, because all of these drivers, they're not affecting the front positions right now. They're not battling for a top spot. They're not even battling for the top 8 spots at the moment out in the intermediate classifications. But it all means something to maybe getting through between a consolation race and being in a superheat. That is the biggest thing that these drivers can take away from this one. Side by side again, over the start-finish line. How close do you want to be there? But my bad, just getting squeezed down to P9. There's Maximino da Silva in the pit lane in Parc Ferme. He looks to be out of this race.
Yeah, real shame there for Maximiano, as Lewis Mackie continuing to have good fun out there. I'm really glad to see that Lewis is racing well this weekend. You know, normally he would be on the spanners for Harrison Mackie, but Harrison Mackie not racing this weekend because he's secured the championship. Well, the only way he would be able to unsecure the championship would be running and having some form of DQ. As there has been something happen there at turn number 7. I heard the flyers screeching.
Yeah, I did see a flutter of a yellow flag as well, but it's cleared quickly. Oof, that's as close as you'd like to get it. Austin Gale down the inside there, trying to make his feelings very well known to the drivers in front, but just not able to get it done. Sam van der Heijden holding on, and that's not gone well at all, and that is Sam van der Heijden, who is going to go backwards in the order here. He was nearly in the barriers at the exit of the pit lane.
I think it just shows how tricky the track is to drive upon right now, because a lot of rubber's gone down today since the very green circuit that we had at the start of the day because of the thunderstorms last night. But now the tyres are a little bit worn. It's harder to get the front end of the karts through the corners. They tend to slide around a little bit more as Gale looks down the inside on Melli there to take 6th place. And yeah, we've got some of the most experienced drivers in the continent, in the world, in IAME X30 Senior, and it just shows that even they're starting to struggle out there. This on board was Sam van der Heijden. On board there, no, that wasn't Sam van der Heijden. Apologies, but again, more drivers running wide out there. This was into the last corner again. Through there, that was Marlon Bayer and Noah Maton having a good fight over 7th place.
Certainly was, and more scraps here happening as looks to me like Angelo Melli's trying to get his way through. And he does get through. So again, chopping and changing all the way throughout the field right now as we are still green flag and racing. We're on lap 7 of 11 right now as they head down, and you can see the communication kicking in still after a long day of racing. Drivers are just focused on, right, okay, you've got past, let's go, let's close in, let's work together, let's close that gap. But again, we see it, but sometimes just drivers either don't see it or they just don't listen. And there it is. There you go. Let's work together. No, I'm going to go down the inside.
It's good stuff indeed. Good progress has been made by Miguel Silva in this race. He's up 10 places, Anthony, up to 12. So good news for the Pantano Racing team there. Back at the front of the order, Nugared looking comfortable right now. French driver 8/10 of a second ahead of Henke Calderon. Henke Calderon still holding on to a front row slot for Superheat 1 tomorrow, but only just. It's winning out in a tiebreaker virtue of the timed qualification performance yesterday ahead of Kian Geraghty. It is Meerschout would be the first of the drivers on the inside of row number 2. Marcus Luzio would also be on the inside of row number 2, albeit for Superheat, the second Superheat tomorrow morning. Ruben Moya and Danny Caronini would be on the outside of row 2 for those two respective Superheats as things stand, because remember, we still have another race to go after this. Good move there down the inside by Gale.
Yep, certainly was, in through 14 and 15, chopping his way through the field. Right, let's run down the order just quickly. Clovis Nogueira leading the way. Calterin still there in second place. Luzio just behind. Biasati is there in P4. This is the Gale, Mackie and Maton battle. Gale moving through the order. Mackie, of course, having that turvy one earlier when he had to have to deal with very overly defensive drivers. But Mackie certainly seems to have settled into this one. And he's been consistent, constantly inside the top 10. His chances tomorrow of a great superheat and a good final are very, very strong, aren't they?
And he's got such experience on his shoulders, you know, that he will know that there'll be a lot of drivers going into tomorrow's superheats and finals who won't have him as the focus. They'll be focusing on each other in terms of championship positions, because as a wild card here, Lewis Mackey's got 0 points at the start of this weekend. That could make Lewis Mackey, I think, quite a dangerous prospect tomorrow for others not being able to get on the podium, because he's going to go all out for the race performance tomorrow, and be a proper dark horse to see if he can get into the top 3.
No, exactly, and I'm pretty sure, if I'm right in saying, that wildcards don't take championship points, so they don't take championship points, but they can still mess around with the championship, because if they're in the lead or second in the final, yes, they don't get those points, but they push the drivers up and around, don't they?
They do indeed, and of course, for the drivers who don't care about the points, there's a trophy at the end of the weekend.
There's a trophy at the end of the weekend, yeah, and they want that trophy because they're very lovely. Right, we're on lap 10 of 11 right now, and again, we still focus and we still see that Clovis Nogueira is just breaking away from the field behind. The gap's up to 9/10 of a second, but Luzio seems to be closing in on Heikki Calterin just a little bit as we go on to the final lap of this race. There is Clovis Nogueira. We've not spoken about him a lot at all in this race, have we, Andrew? But he's delivered, hasn't he, over this weekend? He's been a bit of a consistent driver, up and down throughout most races, but I think he's been a driver who's done well.
Yeah, it's been a really good performance so far this weekend and the season as a whole for Clovis Nogueira. Charlie Gloom has just done the fastest lap of the race. Marcus Luzio, we mentioned actually, Marcus mentioned to me before I spoke to him earlier, he's actually feeling a little bit under the weather this weekend, so racing out there in this 29 air temperature degree heat. Marcus Luzio is a sterling effort from him, but it's not quite going to be enough to beat Clovis Nogueira in this race for Renault Racing Team out of the final corner. Clovis Nogueira will finish the qualifying heats phase with a race victory here at Karting Genk. He takes it by 1.1 seconds ahead of Heikki Calterin. Marcus Luzio finishes third for Calterin. That is looking good for second on the grid on Superheat number 1's grid tomorrow. Luzio also looking good for being towards the front end and also picking up some championship points. If you can have a good superheat tomorrow, we should not forget that, with Luzio being at the moment in the top 3 of the championship standings, the highest runner in the intermediate classification here this weekend. But good stuff there for Clovis Nogueira. Didn't need to be the most dramatic race with all the overtakes in the world. It was a nice, consistent drive to race victory.
Yep, certainly was. No hard work on that, and that's good for him. Because he can save those tyres nicely for tomorrow. Superheat, of course. Make sure you stay tuned for that one for Senior X30. There's a look at the provisional classifications at the end of that one. Nogueira from Calterin, Luzio from Gale, Biasati from Mackie, Maton from Melli, Marzak from Blanchimont, Bayer from Glum, Horton, Silva and Esso rounds out the top 15. Biggest mover in that one is the driver who sits in 16th place, Thomas Van Valet. 12 places gained, Andrew, finishing in P16. It's still a good result, but just outside that top 15, some drivers may be in a bit of bother tomorrow.